Hello, everybody. Welcome to MileSplit. You have the honor of seeing me, Olivia Panay, and Ashley Tishins. We're going to be diving into World U20s. Ashley, it's kicking off in Eugene, Oregon. I'm super pumped. Corey and I are going to be on the ground for this, and I'm super pumped about it. So without further ado, because we want to keep this show exclusively on U20s, Ashley, there are so many athletes that are going to be from all over the country competing in Eugene. Let's dive into some of the just spit off some names on the people we should be looking out for. Let's start off with the mid-distance and distance crew.
Yeah, and I also want to mention too, they've just had a long outdoor track season, and now they've had nationals, and a lot of these guys are really tuned up and now carrying it on into U20. So we're going to see a lot of those big familiar faces that you guys have been seeing at those national meets. So for instance, like you said, in the mid-distance events, you're going to have some big names like Sophia Goriaron in the 800, 1500, and 3K. That'll be an interesting triple there for her. You're going to have Ellie Shea in the 1500, the 3K, and the 3K steeple, as well as Gatorade National Player of the Year, Angelina Napoleon. She's going to be in the 1500 and the 3K steeple, as well as Zariel Makia. She's going to be a rising junior, and she'll be contesting this as well in the 3K and the 5K. And then on the boys' side, you're going to have your New Balance Nationals champion, Tanoda Matsatsa. He's going to be in the 800 there, along with another familiar face, Simeon Birnbaum, which I know we're all quite familiar with. And then, looking on to even the 3K steeple, you're going to have Solomon Holden Betts, who was one of the, he ran one of the fastest times ever recorded for the event at New Balance Nationals this year. So all in all, you're going to have some big names on the distance side.
That's really awesome. Now, opposite of the distance, I'm going to dive into the sprints, and most of these athletes are doubling in the 100, the 200. Of course, I'm interested to see what Layla Hackett does. We saw her scratch at New Balance National Outdoors in the 200-meter final. Hoping everything is okay. Hopefully she's healthy and ready to go. So I'm excited to see what she does here. The young phenom, Elise Cooper, is also in that mix. Of course, Avery Lewis, who won the long jump at New Balance National Outdoors, big top finisher as we've seen throughout the season. Layla Campbell, who won New Balance National Outdoors in that 100. You also have Cynthia James, our big fan. We're a big fan of her. Lauren Lewis, she's going to be in that 400 as well. Madison White, who's constantly in that mix. But even on the boys' side, we cannot go any further without talking about Brody Buffington. Of course, everyone knows this guy from Maryland, the Georgia commit, so he's going to be doubling there. Christian Miller, Tavon Underwood, Jazonce Levin, and of course, Austin Diggs is someone that constantly sneaks up into everything. So it's going to be interesting to see how everyone plays down that sprint. But Ashley, let's talk about the jumps, and also we'll include the pole vault in this as well.
Yes, and looking at the jumps again, some of the top people that have been performing, very consistently throughout the whole entire year. When you look at the high jump, you're going to have someone like Jaciana Jarrow-Holt. She's a big name there, and also in the multis as well. So she'll be doing that high jump individually as well as the multis. Then in that long jump, like you mentioned, you're going to have Avery Lewis, who's a star in both the sprints and the jump. She's going to be doing that along with Alyssa Benales and Juliana Ballone. And then looking at the triple jump for the girls, you're going to have Skyland Townsend and Taylor Fingers, who are two of the top triple jumpers in the nation this season. Now, moving over to the boys' side, the real competition, I think, is going to be in the high jump, because you're going to have Ryan Rankin, who's U.S. #1 right now. He's gone over 7.3 this season, which that's just incredible. So he's going to be leading the way there, along with Grant Campbell and Brendan McHenry, who have also gone 7 feet and higher this year. And then going for the long jump, you're going to have Ashton Torrance as well as Brendan McHenry, again doing that high jump and long jump double. And then in the triple jump, you're going to have Jarvis Anderson out of Texas. He's a hurdler, but he's going to be doing the triple jump as well, and Sterling Scott. So those are some of your guys there in the jumps. And then moving forward to the pole vault as well, we've seen how competitive it is this year. On the girls' side, one to look out for, that's going to be Jathia Muhammad. She's out of California. And then on the boys' side, I think it could be a real battle between two of the top high schoolers this season. It's going to be Bryce Barkdale. I believe he won Nike Outdoor Nationals, and he's from Kansas. And then Cody Johnston, he's been, he's won lots of national titles this year. So they'll be looking to, duke it out there in the pole vault.
Yeah, that is a deep lineup. When you're talking about, it's very competitive. And of course, we're going to see that at U20s. It's a national meet looking to qualify to go to Worlds. Also, I want to shift gears. Let's talk about the hurdles, because I think this is also interesting. We have a lot of big named athletes, as Ashley mentioned, to kind of kick things off. Riley Hampton is an individual that has caught her eye since she went 13, 18 in the hurdles as well. Earlier this season at Texas Relays, hasn't really hit that mark yet. But I'm excited to see what she does because she's going to have this opportunity to qualify. She's tied for US #2 here. So let's see what she does. You also have big names like Nona Waldron, Chelsea Williams, Sky Lee, Kennedy Flynn from Bullis. Mila Green, however, is going to be in the longer hurdles. She's not going to be doing the shorts. What's interesting about Mila is this girl has been ranked in the top 5 with all of her win legal performances across every single hurdle race, from the 100 hurdles to the 300 hurdles and the 400 hurdles. But this weekend, she's just going to be focusing on that 400-meter hurdle race, which I'm excited to see what she does there. Looking at the boys' side, again, forgive me, Alexander, who I always butcher his last name, Chukwulu, who's one of the top 110-meter hurdlers in the nation. You also Nathaniel Ryan, Andre Kronbacher. I'm excited to see what he does with his hair this week. Anthony Waterman is going to be doubling, which is going to be great to see. And then, of course, Eugene for Morissette is someone to also look out for in the hurdles. Before we cap things off and move deeper, Ashley, talk about the individuals in the multis, and I'll end things off with the throws as well.
Well, Olivia, I know you're really familiar with this person. That's going to be Jayciana Jarrow-Holt. I know you've had the privilege of speaking with her before in interviews, and she's been a stud at the high school level in the multis. And so she's going to be returning to that U.S. stage and competing at U20s in that girls multis event. And then looking at the boys, one to look out for is going to be Aiden Carter. He's your top entrant. And so we'll have to see if he can continue on with that. I believe he's from Oregon. So we'll see how he does in his home state.
Awesome. Now on the throw side, there's a big names on the girls' side, especially the men's side stiff. Carly Weisner, Hallie Lucas, Madeline Fay, Evelyn Bliss. They're going to be all over the throws. And then on the guys' side, you have Brendan C., Kai Dianis, and Ben Shu. So there's going to be a lot of great competition just kicking off this weekend. Of course, it's going to be intertwined with the USA track and field Toyota trials, right? So they're going to be competing amongst not like against seniors. Some of them are, which we'll dive into a little bit in a moment, but the seniors are going to kick things off on Friday. Then the World U20s will be Saturday and Sunday as well. So keep your eyes out for that. So now that we have this big scope overview of like the top athletes to look out for, Ashley, who are some of those athletes that have the most momentum going into trials this weekend, following by their June performances with the national championships that have been going on that one weekend? Let's kick things off with the boys first.
Yeah, looking at the boys, one that really caught my eye at national championships is, a guy we already mentioned as someone that is already a big name, but that has to be Brody Buffington for me. He's out of Maryland, and, he's one of the favorites to place in the top 2 in the 100, and then he's one of those favorites to contest for a spot on that, nationals team in the 200. And he had a really strong showing at New Balance Nationals Outdoor. He was finished 3rd in a very quick 100 final in 10:15, only behind Nigel Ankrum and Osama Singa. And he'll be heading off to Georgia in the fall. So U20s and potentially, the Pan American Games, this will be his last time competing at the high school level. So I think, looking at that 100 that he did, he looked very strong and powerful and smooth. So I think, that momentum that he has from that meet carrying over now into July, I think that could be really big for him.
I have to agree with you on Brody Buffington. Another athlete that will be his competitor is going to be Christian Miller of Creekside in Florida. He's been undefeated this whole entire season in the 200, and I feel like that is kind of his sweet spot right now, especially after coming off a huge win at New Balance National Outdoors. He clocked a 20:45 with extra win on the back end, but he was also 4th in that 100. So if I'm Christian Miller, I'm like, I could put everything together when it matters the most. And I feel like he's going to line up really dialed in, carrying that win with him, and just using all of that confidence that he has. Now, for the girls' side, I must say, I kind of, with your pick specifically, let's dive into her because she's just coming off a kind of a really big weekend, especially from June, but also earned an accolade that we're really proud of as well.
Yeah, that's right. This girl, she was just crowned the Gatorade Girls National Track and Field Player of the Year, just last week. And that is Angelina Napoleon out of New York. She has had of some of these athletes that we've seen compete all year long, when it came to those June national championships and even her state championship, she had one of the best campaigns we've seen out of anyone out of any discipline. She reset her national steeplechase record this outdoor season. And, specifically, like I mentioned in the last month, she won New York State titles in the steeplechase and the 800. In that 2K steeple win that she had, it came in a new national record mark of 6:18:41. She would go on to win that event again at New Balance Nationals in 6:19 and would take second in the 800. And so this weekend she'll be doing the 3K steeple. So, she'll be, in that specialty right there, but she'll also be going to do the 1500 at U20s, which we haven't seen her do a whole lot this year. But if, what she's done this past month is any indication of what she could do in the 1500, I think we could potentially see something pretty big. She has a 4:28 PR in that event, but I wouldn't be surprised if she could go faster there.
Yeah, I really agree with you on that one. I think it's a really big pick, especially if I'm Angelina Napoleon, national champion, national record holder, Gatorade player of the year. Hey, I just got to do it a couple more times. And, I feel like she's going to really cap off her season on a strong note before she goes to NC State. For my pick on the girls' side, I want to dive into Elise Cooper a little bit from McDonough High School out in Maryland. I feel like this rising junior hasn't been shy to the competition at all. And I feel like even though she's young, like I just mentioned, she's a rising junior this upcoming season. She's been really putting herself against really big named athletes and has been performing well despite how young she is. And I feel like she's just been doing remarkable things. She set a personal best of 11:40 in the 100 earlier this year. She became one of 6 girls this outdoor season to break 23 seconds in the 200. She went 22:93 and is US number 5. Just even think about what she did at New Balance National Outdoors. She was 3rd in the 100, 4th in the 200. She ran at the New York Grand Prix just last weekend and was 3rd there in the 200 with the 23:21. She's been consistent. You know what I mean, Ashley? And so she leads the class in the 100 and the 200 for the sophomores. So I feel like Elise Cooper has just been really putting herself out there, which means I think this is her moment where she can have an opportunity to be on a team. And just to kind of throw this out there, Shanti Jackson is another great athlete, of course, national high school record holder in the 100, coming off of that New York Grand Prix win in that 200 against Adeja Hodge, which we were kind of really hoping for at New Balance, but we got it just a few days later, and she tied her personal best of 22:70. So I also think Shanti's part of that mix as well that is really confident going into World U20s. Now, with all that being said, there are many dark horses that I feel like could potentially surprise us in Eugene. Ashley, let's kick it off with the boys first. Who is your pick that could potentially has done, just looking at the resume from what they did this whole outdoor season, maybe indoor as well, but can really put it together in Eugene this week?
Yeah, looking at, the boys 200 specifically, if this guy was in, say, the 400, I wouldn't be saying he's a dark horse. But, specifically in this 200, I think Tavon Underwood out of Colorado is going to be a dark horse here that I think could potentially sneak up there and grab a qualifying spot. We've seen just, how this guy's absolutely dominated, the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 800 out in the state of Colorado. He won the 2, the 4, and the 8 at his state championships, and then took second in the 100. He's US number 1 this season in the 400 with a 45:36. So he has that, that endurance and that speed to go for 400. His 200 meter PR is 20:93, and that puts him among the top 8 or so competitors in this boys field at U20s. And, looking at his resume, his best event, is obviously probably this 400, but I'd be curious to see what he could do now that he's had, some really fast sub 46 400s the past few meets, what he could do in that 200. So I think he could be a dark horse there.
I like your pick a lot. Now, mine is kind of on the same range, except this guy is really sneaky good. Kind of sneaky good to the fact that at Adidas Indoor Nationals, he won the 60. He won the 200. Personally, I wasn't expecting that. Then he wins the UIL outdoor state title in the 200, where he ran a personal best of 20:82 to be US number 19. I'm talking about Austin Diggs from LaGrange High School in Texas. I'm not counting this guy out whatsoever. Ever since I saw him compete at Adidas, I'm like, okay, winning those titles, all right. Then at States, winning the titles again. So he's entered in this 200, and he's actually just based off the times that they submitted and the times that have been accepted by USA Track and Field. He's declared in the 200 and also the 100, but he's entered as the 7th fastest sea time. So for me, you just got to give a little bit more. And for him, I feel like he just needs to take it one race at a time to make it into finals, right? Like they're going to be running rounds. And so if he could just do what he needs to just make it into the next round, as long as you're in the final, right? All you got to do is just finish it off. And so I feel like Austin Diggs can surprise a lot of individuals. So at this point, I'm giving it to Austin Diggs as my dark horse on the boys' side. Now for the girls' side, Ashley, who do you have down for this?
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the girls' high jump here, and that's, my dark horse there. That's going to be Milena Chevalier, and she's out of Farmington Hills Mercy in Michigan. But she's been on fire the past few weeks of competition. When I was looking at what she's done, the past month or so, she cleared 5:11 to win a Michigan State title earlier in June, and she finished second as well at Nike Outdoor Nationals with a clearance of 5:08.5. And I got to meet her when I went to the Michigan Indoor State meet in February. And when I was speaking with her, she just seems like someone, she just loves to compete, and that kind of energy, when you're going into a big meet like U20s, you may not realize it, but I think that can a lot of times carry you very far. So I think this is her time to, compete, potentially grab that qualifying spot. I mean, you don't know, it could happen on any given day. And she's also just a junior as well. So this could be a great, confidence booster as well, and a chance for her to really put it out there before, she still has one more year of competition left.
That's fantastic. I have another athlete in mind on the girls' side that's kind of my dark horse. And she's an individual that has been on pretty much every Bullis school's relay, that has done amazing things with Summit, New Balance, National Outdoors. I'm talking about Sydney Sutton. I feel like she's kind of developed, like I think of like Mila Green, like they're about to start graduating a big class. And I feel like Sydney Sutton is about to be the star that's going to be kind of filling in that space. She's learned from amazing leaders over the last 2 years. She's just a sophomore, rising senior, and she's gone 23-29 in the 200. She went 53-88 to finish second to Lauren Lewis at New Balance National Outdoors. And she's the 2nd fastest sprinter in her class in both events. And I feel like toward the end of this season, we've seen her just like really cap off a lot of big performances, such as the DMV Private School Championships in the 200, where she was 3rd in the 400 meters at the ISL Track and Field Championships. And as I mentioned, she was part of Bullis's relays at New Balance National Outdoors. And so she's the 8th fastest competitor going into that 200. And I feel like she can drop something really big in that 400 meter as well. And so I keep mentioning young talents, but there's even younger talents that we're going to see at trials, Ashley. And there are 2 8th graders going to be competing, Aria Pierce and Olivia Harris. Aria declared in the 100 and the 2. Olivia is going to be in that 4. So what exactly are our thoughts? Like if I'm an 8th grader competing against, looking for these U20 spots, like I would almost be intimidated and nervous, but I feel like these athletes are really setting themselves up for success to gain this experience. So I'm curious on your thoughts, and what do you think of Aria Pierce and just what she's done this season?
Yeah, and first off, like you mentioned, it's already a big accomplishment if you're a high schooler to be competing at that U20 level, nationally. But if you're an 8th grader and you're already going out to compete to this stuff, like you must be dang good, So that kudos to Pierce and Harris. But going a little bit more into Aria Pierce. So she's going to be a rising freshman. She's from Kansas, and she's entering the U20s, coming off a 100-meter emerging elite win at Nike Outdoor Nationals, where she clocked 11:76. She also won the 200-meter emerging elite title in 23:95. And she's someone that's, if you go visit her social media pages, she's building a brand, she has a following. She's gained a lot of noise on social media. Earlier this year, she ran 11:5 wind aided and 23:79 wind aided to win the 100 and the 200 meter, I believe, at Kansas Relays, running against not just high schoolers, but collegians as well. So she has that experience, not, just racing people a few years older than her, but some 5, 6, 7 years older than her. So, what does this mean for Pierce? I think this, gives her yet another chance to compete with the older athletes. And, like I mentioned too, it's one of the biggest stages for high school and prep athletes, the U20 championships. And so she'll be competing against the likes of, Shanti Jackson, Kayla Jackson, she's a collegian, and others, because she'll be in that 100 and the 200. So I think this could be, a great moment for her to learn and, get ready for high school as well.
I like that. So Olivia Harris is from Georgia. She represents Jackrabbit Track Club. She has the blood in her. The track blood is like in her veins. She's the younger sister of Sydney Harris and Kim Harris. So Sydney is a Buford graduate, entered in the 400 this weekend. Kim is a member of the University of Southern California women's team and also a former Pan American U20 qualifier. So entering the meet as the Adidas Outdoor National Champion in the middle school 200 and the girls elite 400 meters. She has best of 53.81, which is the fastest 8th grade time by nearly a second. And she's number 5 all time for 8th graders. So that just shows the kind of athlete we're about to be seeing as they become freshmen. So it's going to be exciting to see what both of these two young talents do as they compete against these athletes. Now, to wrap up this show, this segment, of course, I mentioned earlier that there are a few athletes kind of looking to double dip here. We have some athletes that will be competing at the U20s, but also against the seniors as well. So when we're talking about seniors, we're talking about like Noah Lyles, Fred Curley, Sha'Carri Richardson. Like, we're talking about the big dogs. So some of those athletes are Ellie Shea, Simeon Birnbaum, Hannah Mole, Mia Brock-Pedersen. So Ashley, what do you think the objective is for these athletes as they toe the line with the seniors, and what could they potentially gain from just this weekend alone?
Yeah, you listed off all those athletes there, and I think the objective is a little bit different for each of those athletes. For someone like, for example, Hannah Mole, for her, this is just business as usual. She's competed against the senior women before. She's a pole vault stud, national record holder in the event. Her 15-foot clearance earlier this season set that high school national record. So she's already at the same level as a lot of these top collegians and even some of these, seniors out here in the women's side. So, she's competed against pros before, I believe, at the National Pole Vault Summit. So for Hannah, this is like, all right, I'm used to this. Let's get another one underneath my belt competing against these seniors before I go off to college, in the fall at Washington. And another guy he's not new to this game. That's going to be Simeon Birnbaum. Just a couple weeks ago, we saw he competed in his first pro race. He ran the men's 1500 at Nike Outdoor Nationals and finished 3rd in that field against the pros, 3:37 for US number 3 all time. So he's going to be trying another 1500 now, again on the big stage against the pros. And so, for someone like Birnbaum, he's just kind of riding on this, momentum that he's had the past month. And so, I mean, hey, why not? Why not try it again and really go for something even bigger than that 3:37? So for these people, I guess with Mole and Birnbaum specifically, they kind of have that experience already. And so now they're just going to be, trying to fine tune and really just, get more competition, I think. But I think maybe one of the biggest storylines too is, Mia Brock-Pedersen. She's just off of that Nike NIL deal, which we all learned about, earlier this week. And so she's going to be in that 1 and that 2 against, like you mentioned, people like Sha'Carri Richardson, big names that are ranked among some of the top in the world. And so I'll be curious to see, what Mia does in those finals.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting with Mia specifically, right? Like, you talked about Birnbaum and Mole already facing the senior level competition. Mia Brock-Pedersen has been against mostly collegians. There was also a race earlier this season where she competed against the boys too. So
yes,
she's gained that experience with running with fast individuals. But I'm also really curious about how she's going to respond, especially because she's going to be facing these big name athletes. I don't think she's done that before, but her talent and what she's done already, I feel like she's going to have no problem doing it. She's been running 22.4 by herself, 11 flat, at the Oregon State Championship by herself. She did that also at Brooks PR Invitational just a few weeks ago. So I'm not worried about Mia at all. I'm not actually worried about any of these athletes that we named, but I know specifically with Ellie Shea, just because I've been in communication with her coach, just about what the agenda is, right? Because I saw her name down for 3 events originally. And then the 4th one, I was really curious about this because she's going to be competing in the 5K, the 3K steeplechase, which is actually going to be her career debut, not just her season. This is her first time competing in this event. She's going to be running in that as well. She's going to be running in the 1500 against the seniors, and she's going to be looking to make the team in the U20 3K. That is 4 races in 3 days, and 2 of those events, I believe it's the 3K, one other event, that are going to be in the same day. One of them's at like 11 o'clock in the morning. The other one's around 6. So she does have that window. But I must say, I've been hitting the runs early in the morning, and I'm thinking like, I don't understand how anyone's going to be able to double, like going all out in the morning and then potentially holding it in. But I feel like with Ellie Shea and just what we've seen from her, like this girl has the strong talent and she has that training underneath her. But I know specifically with Ellie, her goal is to qualify for the NACAC team in that 1500, which is one of the reasons why she's competing in that senior race. So I'm sure many of these athletes are looking to do the same, gain experience, compete at that next level, work through the rounds. And as I mentioned, these athletes are very talented. Like these aren't athletes that I'm like, okay, I don't know what they're going to gain from this. These are athletes that have posted times and can really toe the line against the big competition. They also have a lengthy resume, which we all know, the performances, the accolades, the times in their career. So they're going to be, I feel like they're going to hold their own. So I'm excited to see just a few of these individuals compete as they go for the U20s and also the senior level as well. So again, things are going to kick off. I fly in Wednesday. Things are going to start. Do I fly in? Yeah, fly in Wednesday. What day of the week is it? Things are going to kick off starting Thursday, Friday, all the way through Sunday. So it's going to be great competition in Eugene, Hayward Field, all the things. So Corey and I, like I mentioned, will be on the ground. So we're going to be providing the interviews, content, you name it. Check out the socials on MileSplit and also Flow Track as well, because we're going to be tag teaming this week. So Ashley, I think that wraps it up for this show. I think
it does. It's going to be a big week, big exciting week. I'm excited.
Big exciting week. So you guys stay safe, take care, and we'll see you again soon.